Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video we'll be going over everything that you need to know in terms of variety of different content that will be available in patch 8.3. If you're not someone who likes to sit on Wowhead and other websites looking for every tidbit of content update, this video is going to go over everything that you need to know without having to look for external sources. So, without further ado, let's see what's happening in patch 8.3, which will be releasing on the 14th of this month, January, on US servers, and 15th of January on EU servers. In this patch, we'll be re-exploring two zones that we've seen before, the Oldham and the Vale of Blossoms. With N'Zoth freed from his prison, two Titan facilities, one in Oldham and one in Vale, are under attack by the N'Zoth forces, and you'll be spending a lot of time in those two zones for majority of your max level content. Within those zones, you'll find the entrance to Neolotha, the Waking City, the city where N'Zoth dwells, where his forces come from, and the environment, the look, the music, and the boss fights are actually quite good in this raid from the testing that I've done so far. It's definitely a unique raid, and it's been a while since we've had a massive raid with so many bosses. If you're someone who never really raids in World of Warcraft, this might be a great time for you to try, as this raid will have mounts dropping from both Mythic as well as Heroic. So for getting ahead of the curve, which means killing all the bosses on Heroic, you'll be rewarded with a mount, where Heroic is the difficulty most players should be able to get to. Along with the raid, we'll be starting a 4th season for Battle for Azeroth. The 4th season will be applied for both the PvP season as well as the Mythic Plus season. For Mythic Pluses in particular, they have a brand new seasonal affix called The Awakened. Unlike Beguiling, where you had extra forces sprinkled throughout the dungeon, instead you'll be fighting Lieutenants of N'Zoth within the dungeon, accessible through pylons, where you'll be able to fight these enemies one-on-one and utilize the unique mechanic while fighting the bosses to create extra pathways and extra skips throughout the dungeon, which should allow groups that are very creative to skip through certain trash bags they usually wouldn't want to do. Within the zones of Oldham and the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, you'll also have N'Zoth Invasions, which will radically transform the zones all dark and cloudy, and N'Zoth's minions will be scattered all over the place. There will be rares all over the zones. Some rares will even drop mounts. Some rares will require multiple people to group up together in order to take them down. Doing just about anything in the zone helps you towards progression for that zone, and once you're done with the progression for the attack, you'll fight an N'Zoth Lieutenant, and afterwards you'll be rewarded with loot. If you're a new player coming into any of the N'Zoth Invasions, this should be a little bit of a challenge. Majority of the enemies hit quite hard, and some enemies even one-shot. But then what would you expect from an invasion by N'Zoth himself? Outside of N'Zoth Invasions, there'll be more things to do in the Vale and Oldham, as other factions will be trying to vie for control. The Mantid and the Mogu will be coming back to the Vale from time to time. The Amethyst and the Akir will also be attacking Oldham, so there will be always something to do in both of these zones, even if there's not a N'Zoth invasion. Another feature that has been added into the game is called Horrific Visions. Think of Horrific Visions similar to the Mage Tower challenge or the Chromie challenge back from Legion. Horrific Visions is a challenge that can be done between 1 to 5 players or any number in between. They are quite challenging and can get scaled up in difficulty. Within Horrific Visions, you have a limited amount of time, limited amount of sanity, and a variety of different enemies and bosses and challenges and debuffs to fight through in order to get through the visions. The visions, in a sense, look like the potential future if N'Zoth were to take over the world, and you'll be fighting inside of Orgrimmar and Stormwind. The idea behind Horrific Visions is to develop your characters, grow stronger, and progress further into visions, fighting more enemies and bringing back more loot while managing your sanity bar. The more damage you take inside of visions, the less sanity you will have. The further you venture into the visions, the faster you lose your sanity. So the idea is to balance how far you can go, as well as how many enemies you can take on, while also trying not to run out of sanity. Take it from me, because I tried Horrific Visions a couple times, and I've been able to test them a little bit here and there. They are totally doable solo, but it does need you a little bit of experience in terms of how the mechanics work and what to expect. So if it's your first time running Horrific Visions, try to pair up with other people just to make sure that in case you do something wrong, that you don't completely fail the vision, as other people can pick you up if you are ever downed. With Horrific Visions, you'll also be able to do some Titanic research. The Titanic research will be used in order to strengthen yourself within these Horrific Visions, where you'll be able to make your character a lot more powerful and last longer. You can also make Horrific Visions harder, but offer more rewards if you use faceless masks. Think of faceless masks very similar to Mythic Plus dungeons and affixes. Wearing a mask is very similar to adding an extra affix into your experience. Did you miss legendaries from Legion? Well, legendaries are back. For this last patch, you are intended to acquire a legendary cloak from Rathian, very similar to how you had a legendary cloak back in Mists of Pandaria, and you'll be using this legendary cloak in order to have an easier time within horrific visions, as well as to counter certain N'Zoth mechanics. Most of the endgame progression for this final patch is going to be taken away from your Heart of Azeroth, so you don't really need to farm your Heart of Azeroth into infinity. Instead, you're going to be doing a weekly objective in order to increase the power of your legendary cloak, and that's where most of the power gains will be offset to on a week-by-week basis. Instead of Titan Forging and War Forging, Blizzard is going to be replacing both of those mechanics of gear upgrades with corruptions. On this channel, we talked a lot about corruptions, but basically, corruptions will have a beneficial effect, but also a negative debuff. They'll give you a certain amount of corruption to your character. The more corruption you have, the more debuffs you encounter, from your corruptions slowing your character, to sending phantasms to deal damage to you, to spawning eyeballs near you, attacking you until you move out. Basically, the more corruption you have, the harder it is going to be to stand still and play the game. So balancing corruptions, the beneficial effects, and the negatives is going to be a big portion of this patch. For PvP, we have a redesign for Deepwind Gorge, where the BG will now play very similar to Arathi Basin. Gotta be honest, I never was a huge fan of the original Deepwind Gorge, and the new redesign does look interesting, so I'm going to be very excited to jump into it as soon as it's available. With this patch, you'll be able to unlock allied races of Vulpera and Mechanomes. All you have to do is complete the main questline for Vulpera or Mechanomes, and make sure to be exalted with Vulpera and Mechanomes before you can start the questline. The new allied races also come with their own racials, and they come with a variety of class options. Speaking about class options, if you pre-ordered Shadowlands, then you'll be able to play Death Knights as any allied race in the game. Anything from Dalaran to the new Mechanomes and Vulpera, Death Knights will have access to literally every race in the game. Blizzard also decided to update the auction house. They announced this update during BlizzCon, and the auction house should be smoother, faster, and easier to use, with a lot more functionality built around the way the players have been using the auction house via add-ons. You will also be able to unlock the new heritage armor for goblins and worgen. Be sure to be exalted with the worgen or the goblins in order to unlock the questline in order to celebrate the legacy with your heritage armor. Darkshore Warfront has also been added to the heroics, so now you can queue for heroic Darkshore from the mission tables. This is definitely worth doing, especially at the beginning of a patch, and for any alts if you're trying to get some gear with a way higher item level. Then of course there's also story updates with patch 8.3, like the Dark Prince Rathian returning back to the game, and you'll see a couple extra familiar faces that you might have seen in previous expansions. But I'm gonna save all those spoilers for when the actual patch comes out for all of you guys to experience. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully this covered everything new that is happening in patch 8.3. There was some smaller stuff that I didn't cover, like pet battles and a new pet battle dungeon, as well as some of the mounts that are being added in a Darkmoon Faire arcade, but for the most part I wanted to cover only the most important parts. Thank you all so much for watching, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in another video.